I will have order in this courtroom. Answer the question, witness.
Judge Oliver Grant's gavel cracked like a gunshot, echoing through the suffocating courtroom. Another word, and I'll throw you in a holding cell for contempt. Do you understand me? Vanessa King stared back, her expression an impenetrable mask of calm. She didn't flinch. She simply adjusted the collar of her unassuming beige trench coat. I understand perfectly, Your Honor, she said softly, a dangerous edge to her voice. More than you could possibly know. The morning rain in Manhattan drummed against the pavement of Foley Square. To most, it was just another dreary Tuesday. To Vanessa King, it was an opportunity. Vanessa moved through the world with the calculated precision of a woman who'd had to prove herself twice as capable to get half the respect. At 48, she had shattered every glass ceiling the legal world tried to place above her. Just 3 weeks prior, she'd been elected president of the New York State Bar Association, the first black woman to hold the position in its history. But today, she was not the president. Today, she was just a citizen with a minor traffic citation. Standing before her mirror, Vanessa deliberately shed the armor of her profession. Gone was the tailored Armani suit, the pearls, the designer briefcase. Instead, she pulled on a faded, oversized gray sweater, dark denim jeans, scuffed loafers. Her hair went back in a simple bun. She looked ordinary, invisible. That was exactly the point. The citation itself was trivial, an alleged illegal U-turn on an empty street written by an overzealous rookie cop. Her assistants had offered to make it disappear with one phone call. That was how the system worked for the elite. Vanessa had declined. As the newly minted leader of the state's legal profession, she'd pledged to investigate the systemic inequalities in municipal courts, the entry-level justice system where everyday citizens were processed like cattle. She wanted to see the machine from the inside, stripped of her titles. "Are you sure you want to do this, Miss King?" her chief of staff, David, had asked that morning. "Judge Grant has a reputation, highest rate of maximum fines in the district." "That is precisely why I'm going, David," Vanessa replied, her voice cool and steady. "I need to see what the people see." She bypassed her private driver and rode the crowded subway down to the financial district, absorbing the exhausted faces around her, the people the law was supposed to protect, yet so often was weaponized against. The municipal courthouse's limestone facade gave way to an interior thick with anxiety and cheap coffee. Metal detectors buzzed, guards barked orders. It was an environment built to intimidate. Vanessa took her seat in the back row of Courtroom 3B, hard benches, flickering fluorescent lights, cheap faux oak paneling, and waited. She was no longer Vanessa King, formidable litigator. Here she was just a black woman in a plain sweater, a number on a docket, about to meet the king of this petty kingdom. "All rise! The Honorable Judge Oliver Grant presiding." Grant swept in like a dark cloud. Late 50s, receding hairline, permanently florid complexion, the puffed chest of a man desperate to project authority. A mediocre lawyer who'd leveraged political favors into a municipal bench seat, he'd festered here for 15 years, passed over for higher courts due to his temperament and constantly overturned rulings. To compensate, he ruled Courtroom 3B like a tyrant. He didn't look at the gallery, just scowled at his docket as if their existence insulted his time. "Let's get this over with. Call the first case." For the next 2 hours, Vanessa watched a masterclass in judicial misconduct. Grant interrupted defendants, rolled his eyes, handed out maximum fines with a flick of his wrist. Her blood simmered watching a young Hispanic mother toddler crying in her arms try to explain she'd missed a court date because she was in the ER. "I don't care about your sob stories, Miss Rodriguez," Grant snapped. "Automatic failure to appear, additional $500, license suspended. But, Your Honor, I need to drive to work or I'll lose my job. I brought the hospital records. Did I ask for your life story? Pay the clerk. Next case." A cold knot formed in Vanessa's stomach. This wasn't justice. It was revenue extraction fed by ego, preying on people who couldn't afford lawyers and were too terrified to appeal. She took out a small notebook and began jotting precise notes. Failure to review evidentiary documents, hostile demeanor, disproportionate sentencing, the foundation of a formal ethics complaint. She noticed the pattern, too. Grant was harsher, quicker to anger with people of color, gruffly patient with white defendants, but outright hostile with black and brown ones. Unchecked prejudice, operating in plain sight. Docket number 4409, City of New York versus Vanessa King. Vanessa closed her notebook and walked to the defendant's podium, posture impeccable despite the casual clothes. The trap was set. Grant didn't look up, still scratching notes. Vanessa King, illegal U-turn, lawyer, or representing yourself, which I'd advise against given the incompetence I see in this room. I am representing myself, Your Honor. Her voice was calm, carrying effortlessly. Grant glanced up, scanned her. Plain sweater, unstyled hair, no briefcase. And his internal biases did the rest. Uneducated, low income, easily intimidated. Fine. How do you plead? Not guilty, and I'd like to file a motion to dismiss. The officer's citation lacks the required statutory specificity. Stop right there, Grant barked, slamming his hand on the desk. I don't need a civilian quoting statutes she Googled last night. With respect, Your Honor, Vanessa continued, polite but firm. The officer's narrative doesn't indicate the turn impeded traffic, which is a required element. I have dash cam footage proving the street was empty. Grant's face went mottled crimson. He despised correction, especially from someone he deemed beneath him. You speak when I tell you to speak, and right now you are to remain silent. The gavel cracked like a gunshot. Another word, and I'll throw you in a holding cell for contempt. Do you understand me? Vanessa's expression didn't move. I understand perfectly, Your Honor, more than you could possibly know. Oh, you think you're smart, Grant sneered, leaning over the bench. Let me show you how the law actually works. Guilty, maximum fine of $300, and since you want to be insolent, I'm citing you for civil contempt. Another $500, $800 total, payable immediately, or you don't leave this building. A shocked murmur rippled through the gallery. Even the bailiff shifted. Your Honor, Vanessa said, her voice dropping to a quiet, terrifying register, I formally object to the contempt charge. I have not raised my voice or disrupted proceedings. By denying me the opportunity to present exculpatory evidence, you are violating my right to due process. Are you deaf? I am the law in this room. Bailiff, take her into custody. That won't be necessary. Vanessa reached into her purse and set a sleek black titanium Amex Centurion card on the podium. I will pay the fines in full immediately. Grant blinked, thrown off, but his arrogance smothered the confusion fast. Pay the clerk and get out of my sight. At the clerk's desk, Vanessa requested a fully itemized receipt with specific charge codes for both citations. Then, raising her voice just enough for the court reporter's mic to catch it, I would also like to formally request the official certified transcript of this entire exchange. Can you confirm every word spoken by Judge Grant has been captured? The court reporter looked up, surprised, and gave a slow nod. Grant laughed, harsh and grating. You want a transcript? Go ahead. Waste more of your money. Maybe you can learn how to show respect to a judge. You're dismissed. Vanessa folded the receipt away and looked at him one last time. Not with anger, but with the cold, analytical gaze of a predator watching prey lock its own cage. Enjoy the rest of your day on the bench, Judge Grant. She turned and walked out. The moment the doors clicked shut behind her, the charade dropped. She dialed David. I need the certified transcript of my hearing expedited to my office by tomorrow morning. Did he do it, Vanessa? Did he step out of line? He didn't just step out of line, David, she said, sliding into a waiting black SUV. He leapt over it, set it on fire, and danced on the ashes. Maximum fines, denied due process, a contempt charge because I politely cited a statute. Good Lord, he has no idea who you are. None. I want a full dossier on every complaint filed against Judge Oliver Grant over the last 10 years. Every overturned ruling, every grievance. We're building an ethics case so watertight it survives a nuclear blast. And the grand finale? The Bar Association's annual Judicial Ethics Gala is in exactly 3 weeks, Vanessa said, a slow smile spreading. Grant's been aggressively lobbying for an invitation. He wants an appellate seat. Make sure he gets a VIP ticket, right near the front. 3 weeks later, the grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel glittered with chandeliers, tuxedos, and silk gowns. The Judicial Ethics Gala was the most prestigious night on the state's legal calendar. State Supreme Court justices, federal judges, elite partners, and politicians mingling over prime rib, deciding the judiciary's future. Grant was in his element, in an overpriced new tuxedo, schmoozing loudly, handing his card to anyone who made eye contact, desperate to escape the municipal courts for a higher bench. He was mid-brag to a federal circuit judge about maintaining an iron fist over ignorant citizens when the judge offered a tight smile and excused himself. Grant, too self-absorbed to notice the brush-off, turned toward the bar and froze. Near the VIP curtain stood a woman in a breathtaking emerald floor-length gown, diamonds at her ears and throat, surrounded by the district attorney and a state senator hanging on her every word. It was her, the woman from his courtroom. His face flushed with fury. How did she get in here? Did she sneak in as staff and steal a dress? He set his drink down and marched over, chest puffed. "Excuse me, I know you. You were in my courtroom." The circle went quiet. Vanessa turned, serene. "Yes, Judge Grant, 3 weeks ago." "What are you doing here?" Grant demanded, voice rising, drawing stares. "This is a private, secured event. You can't crash a gala because you bought a fancy dress with money you probably owe the city. I'm calling security." Dead silence. The DA's jaw dropped. The senator looked at Grant like he'd sprouted a second head. "I assure you, Judge Grant, I was invited." "You're a petty traffic offender who doesn't know her place. Security." He waved wildly toward a guard, but the lights dimmed before anyone could move. A booming voice filled the ballroom. "Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The evening's program is about to begin." Vanessa handed her glass to a waiter. "You should find your seat, Judge Grant. You really don't want to miss the keynote. I'm not done with you." "Oh, I know," she whispered. "But I am about to be done with you." She walked off, not toward the exit, but backstage. Grant fumed his way to table 4, right near the front, ignoring his table mates' confused looks. He'd deal with her the moment the speeches ended. On stage, the outgoing bar chairman took the mic. "Tonight, we celebrate the integrity of our legal system and a new era of accountability. It is my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, a powerhouse litigator, a champion of civil rights, and 3 weeks ago, she made history. Please welcome the newly elected president of the New York State Bar Association, Ms. Vanessa King." The ballroom erupted in a standing ovation. At table 4, Grant's heart stopped. Blood drained from his face. No, it's a coincidence. A common name. Then the curtains parted, and the woman in emerald green stepped into the spotlight. His world collapsed. It was her, the woman he'd bullied, silenced, illegally fined. Vanessa waited for the applause to die, scanning the front tables until her eyes locked on Grant, pale, sweating, gripping the table edge like the floor was giving way. She smiled, cold and terrifying. "Thank you. We are here tonight to talk about ethics. But justice isn't measured in the Supreme Court. It's measured in the lowest municipal courts, where everyday citizens first meet the law. Measured when vulnerable people without money or influence stand before a judge." The room hung on her words. 3 weeks ago, I conducted an experiment. I dressed in plain clothes, left my title at the door, and walked into a municipal courtroom in this city to contest a minor traffic citation. I wanted to see what happens to a regular citizen who respectfully tries to assert their rights. A murmur of intrigue. She pulled a bound document from beneath the podium. "I have here the certified transcript of that hearing. Allow me to read a quote from the presiding judge, spoken to a citizen merely trying to submit exculpatory evidence." She opened it. "You speak when I tell you to speak, and right now you are to remain silent. Another word, and I'll throw you in a holding cell for contempt. I am the law in this room." Gasps rippled through the room. Federal judges frowned. Appellate justices whispered. "When I calmly informed this judge he was violating my right to due process," Vanessa said, voice rising, "he slapped me with a $500 contempt fine simply because I did not cower. He assumed I was uneducated, poor, powerless, someone he could abuse without consequence." She closed the transcript with a crack like a gavel strike. He was wrong. She pointed directly at him. The spotlight found Grant. 700 of the most powerful legal minds in the state turned to look. That judge is Oliver Grant. He is sitting at table 4. Grant tried to stand, tried to speak. Nothing came out. The federal judge he'd been schmoozing earlier physically leaned away in disgust. The State Bar Association does not merely write strongly worded letters, Vanessa concluded, lethal calm. Effective immediately, my office has submitted this transcript, along with a 50-page dossier detailing a decade of Judge Grant's discriminatory, abusive, and unconstitutional conduct to the State Commission on Judicial Conduct, demanding his immediate removal from the bench. We will not tolerate petty tyrants wearing the robes of justice. Thank you, and enjoy your evening. The ballroom erupted. Not just applause, but a roar of shock and approval. Grant didn't wait for dessert. He stumbled out, his new tuxedo suddenly feeling like a straitjacket. He couldn't outrun what had just caught up to him. The fallout was swift and brutal. Vanessa didn't just file a complaint, she brought the full weight of the legal establishment down on him. The story hit the press. The arrogant judge who'd unwittingly thrown the book at the Bar Association's own president. "The Fool in Robes," read the Post's headline. Within 48 hours, the Commission on Judicial Conduct suspended Grant pending an emergency hearing. No lawyer in the city would touch his case. Everyone wanted to stay in Vanessa King's good graces, and he was forced to represent himself. The bitter irony wasn't lost on anyone. The hearing was a massacre. Vanessa brought not just her transcript, but David, who'd coordinated testimony from dozens of Grant's victims over the years. Ms. Rodriguez, testifying about her mocked hospital records. Young men describing the exorbitant bails he'd set for minor infractions. Grant sat gray and shrunken at the defense table, the arrogance of 15 years finally gone, replaced by the realization that he was ruined. The commission didn't just remove him from the bench. Given the constitutional violations proven in his rulings, they recommended disbarment. A month later, the appellate division stripped his law license entirely. His pension was heavily penalized. The man who'd built his identity on demanding unquestioning obedience from the vulnerable was now a disgraced, unemployed former lawyer who couldn't even legally advise someone on a parking ticket. Months later, Vanessa sat in her corner office overlooking the Manhattan skyline, reviewing legislation she'd helped draft. A sweeping reform bill mandating independent audits of municipal courtroom proceedings, so judges like Grant couldn't operate in the shadows. Her phone buzzed. David. "Update on our old friend Oliver Grant. He just filed for personal bankruptcy. Tried to get a job teaching paralegal courses at a community college. They revoked the offer after a background check." Vanessa leaned back, looking out at the city. She felt no joy in his ruin, only a profound sense of justice. Grant had spent a lifetime destroying lives with the careless swing of a gavel. The universe had simply let him swing it at the one person who could hit back harder. "Let that be a lesson to the rest of them, David," she said softly. "The robes don't make you a king. They make you a servant. And if you forget that, the people you serve will eventually remind you." She hung up, picked up her pen, and went back to work. There was still a lot of justice left to serve.